The new patch is shaping up to be a big one, with potentially drastic changes to the meta, with the top end getting heavily hit and some of the bottom end being brought up, giving room for new potential contenders. My name is Boris, and today we'll quickly go over the patch notes that I've summarized right here and then jump in our VOD review. Now, I've color-coded some of the main things to watch out in this list. From the gameplay changes, one of the main things we should note is that this is the first time the 5-cost champion has been reduced to a 4-cost champion, with Morgana becoming a 4-cost magic tank, providing damage reduction to your whole team, increased when she's in her caster form. It's going to be a great support tank. However, I would note that Rast still is extremely strong whenever you're able to get to those 6 traits, and probably is going to take over the edge. But if you have flex slots in your comp, definitely hold on to her on your roll downs. A lot of top performing augments got nerfed. Pay attention to the ones that give gold, exclusive customization, and golden gamble got nerfed. Buried treasures also got reduced in value. But on the combat front, the ones that are a little harder to spot are Jude Lotus, Kahuna Huda, Mace's Will, May the Force, and the Tower, all receiving nerfs, so watch out whenever you take those. On other nerfs, we should note that the Kale's Boon got nerfed, as well as the Craftsmanship is receiving 1 less Reforger, should still be quite strong of a blessing in its own. Big hits are also taken by the Varus, about 15% less HP from your star levels. Marauders receiving nerf across the board for their trait. It's going to make that E comp a lot less oppressive. And the big hits are coming all the way to these reroll comps. We have Briar and Belveth damage nerfs. We have Leona and Teemo getting nerfed. Jax getting nerfed again, becoming even less durable, alongside TF also getting nerfed. So all these reroll comps are going to be taking a huge hit, as well as Kai'Sa too is going to be less stable. However, on the buff side, one that I would like to watch out for quite a bit is the Gnar. A lot of players are a bit skeptical about this one, but he's had some very niche spots to be played before. Another huge buff is Diana receiving buff, both in her durability for the shield, as well as the orb damage receiving about 20% buff. Now, note these numbers are approximate, going off the template, 5, 10, 15, 20% nerf about that that Riot uses for their buffs. And whenever I mention damage, it's more related to their spell. MF Challenger also received a buff, so does Diana, and MF comp that I've made a video on is going to be quite popular as well. You can see the board I'm mentioning right now. As well as we have buffs to AP comps across the board, with Nami receiving buff, Karma, and both mech and unmech Asol receiving a buff, as well as LeBlanc. AP should definitely be back in meta for this level 8 AP, opening up a lot of possibilities for the 4-cost fast 8 type of meta. We'll have to see how it develops. 3-cost reroll could also become prominent with Samira and Ornn buffs, as well as AP fast 9. Sona got buffed, and Vex, for example, did not get touched, so the cap of the LeBlanc comp should be quite high still. Regarding some of the meta tier list changes, Yi should definitely be going about 2 tiers low. Teemo as well, and would require a perfect sped up with something like Permanent Scaling Arbiter. Primordian, heavy hits all around. Akali is the only one that got buffed in the comp. Everything else is not going to be as stable. Samira reroll could become a potential reroll comp again, as well as Kai'Sa rogues with some of the fizz buffs we received. But definitely the big winner here is going to be the 4-cost AP lines. And you can see I have also made a video on the AP flex. For the non-mech Asol, we still have to play around with boards, figure out how it is going to work, but definitely give some of these boards here a try. I go quite in depth about all the possible variations, how you can play around the comp right there. Other comps to still watch out for. There have been some 2 tanky Milio boards. I'm going to show the board here floating around. Potential something to give it a try, as Milio did not get touched, and some players were already leaning into him as being the primary carry in that Lulu comp, just because you can get him online earlier and start snowballing from there. Corki Riven should still be the prominent AD line in the meta, but some of the Xayah changes, for example, her spell is no longer duration based, but based on attacks, leaning a little bit more potentially into some of their itemization changes as well. Could be more attack speed, could be more AD, we'll have to see how that works out. Now that should be short about the meta, and now let's jump in our VOD review. For the VOD review, we're going to be jumping in game with Robinsongz. I decided to pick a fun game focusing around one of the units that is going to be receiving buffs in this patch. So let's see how he approaches the game. Our encounter is the Stage 3 augments. This is a encounter that I am quite skeptical about, as the potential for some combos you can get. Cosmic Restart into Restart Mission or Damify into Restart Mission, things like that. They just open up possibilities for a little too much nonsense for my taste. But we are starting out here with an Aatrox pair. Have the Gnar drop, but he's holding on to Gnar and decided to hold on to Poppy. But it's interesting why he opted to not hold on to that Meepsy. Meepsy, definitely a decent unit to be playing around. Now, the issue with her is that she does not have the traits really matching in the early game, unless you find Pike like he did right here. But we have a potential also for a Gnar pair. Now, we have Gnar 2 already. Okay, we do not exactly have the slams that we would be looking for. We have 4 Gnars. Could be a Gnar reroll game from this spot already, just calling it. It's going to be very hard as Gnar, I believe, wants those attack speed items, but we can slam an Even Shroud here. We have the Aatrox too, the Bastions to pair with, have the Caitlyn to go in to provide a little bit of attack speed on our level 4. This encounter also has one of the downsides of if you do not have clear direction or your board is quite weak, you might be struggling very much to bounce back into the game, as your stage 2 is going to be hard to navigate. You pretty much have to commit to the loss streak, but if that gets broken, then you might be tough on outs. You are very limited in the information you receive, and it's going to be hard to figure out. Now, the thing is with making this Gnar 2 here, is that that's a lot of gold investment, and we do not have an Econ Ogma, which is another thing you would be wanting if you do not have a direction or a strong board, which is this is taking a heavy hit in this encounter. Able to pick up a 2-win streak, that's going to in some way pay for our Gnar right here, but still, it's a hefty investment. 6 gold into a 2 cost. You definitely do not want to be making these unless you are able to ensure that you're going to be streaking. And we do not have a sniper or meeple for this Gnar, so that is the worrisome part. We are able to make 10 on 2-3, which is nice. We didn't level, so we perhaps would have expected to make a little bit more. Now we're picking up that Meepsy. This is why I wanted to say that we perhaps want to hold on to it, as definitely playing around 2 Bastion 3 Meeple at this point is going to be quite strong, especially if you're unable to play around that Ezreal. Able to pick up a win against the Primordian player, perhaps playing Primordian just for Econ, as it seems, yeah, there's another player right there angling that Primordian line. And for our god selection, we are playing in a Soraka and Varus encounter. This blessing from Soraka is a little bit weak. Now, it has some value in the earlier game due to the effective HP being more valuable, but we have a tank slam. However, this other one is also not too appealing. The tier does not exactly fit current game plan. Perhaps we could play Shojin and then maybe just play more into something of a quirky. Now, this is also a gamble for the next 2 because you'll be seeing you have to buy this next one, otherwise it's going to be disappearing. But I believe he might just be going for Econ, or if he values that potential to streak. If he believes that this could make the difference for streaking, it could be quite valuable. But we are going to be picking up the next 2 cost. Had another Gnar, and we see another Gnar from this. We missed stage 2 Gnar 3 at this point, I believe, but let's just assume those were the same ones showing up constantly. Now we have 6 Gnars. This is definitely looking like some form of a spot where we could be trying out Gnar if we got some of the bows to get some attack speed. Queuing into another player, which seems to be slight sacking. Yeah, they are slight sacking, starting to position in a way to focus fire, kill a unit off or something. As you can see, whenever in this encounter players do not have clear directions or the strongest of the boards, they're trying to make Econ in any means possible, and we are picking up easy wins here against these loose streakers. Just by making this Gnar 2 without exactly the most optimal items. Going to be slotting in another Gnar. This should definitely be making a little bit of stronger of a board for ourselves. And hopefully we're able to close this off on a 5 streak. Now there seems to be the strong Marauder player there. That's this Primordian player, right? Also lacking a little bit perhaps on the damage front, but have committed to the Akali too. So that could be a potential threat, definitely. Our frontline does get blown up, and the Aatrox simply isn't tanky enough, so our streak is broken. This is a little bit of an iffy spot since we opted to level as well. Even slam belt for the extra caveat of giving us another point of damage. And now we are in a little bit of a shaky spot. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the list he's making right there, but nevertheless, maybe we'll see a little bit more of it as we go into the VOD. Another Gnar coming in. Okay, now we got ourselves a bow, but that's a Giant Slayer, so now our items are coming, augments are coming in. I believe from this spot now that our 3-good broker, we could be looking at an econ. Invested still, this is going to take us a while to even reach this threshold at this point. And while we might be in position to be playing this generally into some form of a fast 9 board, this is just too little gold. The 4-2-1, which is the stage 4 one, obviously offers you enough to actually be going to level 9. This one is a little on the lower end. Wise spending is the more appealing econ option right here. Could maybe fish for that Nar 3, as we are still level 5 as well. And then tempo off from there. Soul Awakening has received quite a few nerfs and hasn't seen that much play, but can definitely be quite good in some comps with many instances of damage, as quite a lot of units in here are. Hedge Fund, again, we're going to be taking a while to get to his interest. Wise spending just seems a more appealing tempo plus econ option for this kind of a spot. Bronze for Life, see, we are more locked into this meeple kind of a board, so we are not going to be making that much use of that. So picking up the Wise spending, going to be most likely econing up to 50 about here. And now we can see he's pulling up the Gnar itemization. Not many games played right there. Very low sample size, but this guy is going to be loving some bow items. Kraken or Rageblade should be quite fine. And hopefully this comp does see some light of play. This could be nice to open up some potential 2-cost reroll into the meta, as I love fast 8 metas, but you should see seeing some potential rerollouts, especially when you are on these 5 losses. You want something to be able to play for to stabilize your board and salvage some placements. For our next augment, we could just be going here with Feed the Flames in order to stack our 3-item tank, but ideally would be finding other form now of an item augment to start stacking this Gnar, as we are chasing most likely the Gnar 3. Earth would require us to sacrifice a component, would reduce our item's economy, speed, and now this tempo slam. We do not have exactly the open slam. The Meeple emblem, for example, would require us a chain. We don't have it open. So perhaps a gamble on Portable Forge is also a decent option to be considering in this slot. Let's see how he manages to approach his selection. So he's going to pass up on the Feed the Flames immediately. Perhaps does not value. So he's looking, yeah, we can see Kraken, Rageblade, GS, and IE seems to be forming 5-5. Maybe he's gambling. Salvage Bin could definitely be more of a component bailout, most safe option. But he's going to be going with the Mace's Will now. The attack speed part of Mace's Will is getting nerfed next patch. But now it allowed us to guarantee a potential slam without gambling, I guess, on the Portable Forge. And hopefully now that we're going to be able to streak with keeping an open bow, finding a item slam onto the either the God selection or from the next augment. From the next augment, we could be pretty much open to pre-book whatever. You have my bow is actually, this is one of the rare instances where it might not be that bad. Electro Charge is more good in your heavy frontline comps, while Ascension in your stall comps do not really benefit that much. Cybernetic Implants also, I would value this stronger than you have my bow simply in a simple case, but we find a Jax 2 immediately, and this is, yeah, the pre-nerf Jax, so it should be quite strong. Still to be playing around, he's going to be picking up that bow instead, valuing that he wants 2 bows guaranteed in order to itemize this Gnar 3, so fundamentally more sound of a play rather than leaning into the pure raw augment power. Something that I know I should also be sometimes making note of. That's why I made my read wrong right there. But we queue into this Briar here. Seems to be yeah, the Golden Gamble. They could be most likely playing into this Master Econ from there with the item slams they have made, but those are also sufficient slams for the Master Yi or Briar. For our next selection, the Blessing of Size offers us a chain. We were ideally looking for something that we could be completing. Now the glove could synergize, give us a now we have Even Shroud, so we do not really need this Last Whisper right now. This would just simply be treated as a little bit of an extra econ. We have an open glove force, potentially Corki in the later form of a game, but we could also be just picking up chain as we are going to be playing around Ramos, and Ramos grabs those chain items. Blessing of Size could also stabilize our front line definitely, as we're going to be having a scaling backline carry, so we're going to be going with that. Just picking up a Poppy here for a potential out of maybe finding a Poppy 3. We are holding onto these Aatroxes as well at 7 copies right now. We slammed our Blessing of Size on the Jack, so we're definitely valuing potential for the tempo right now. Wanting to make good use of it, also not over digging here for, did not see the 8th copy of an R. If we found another one, then we potentially could be. Now the thing was that we were still quite low on gold, and this Wise spending is the hybrid kind of tempo econ augment, but we're going to be definitely delayed on our level 8, since level 8 in itself is quite expensive to get to, right? So ideally, if we had seen another potential gold augment, could have considered. I do not have much play on this augment myself, so I do not have the greatest of the feels, but so this is really good to order review a game and see how the tempo feels when you are on the lower gold cost. And we wanted to streak from here. If we were able to pick up Ignart, we make our gold back that way, but we run into the Sakali player here, so our streak gets broken a couple of times, and this is a little bit of a tough spot right now, holding on to this potential for the Jaxes, and he seems to be mapping out some form of Bastion meeple board. Now that's an interesting one. Definitely want to have some form of a sniper whenever we are playing around this Gnar. So, and for this wise spending, you are generally aiming to be playing around some form of a 2-cost or 3-cost reroll. So it makes sense that we are also having slotting in that the Samira and Ornn. Definitely getting some practice for the next patches. This could be a prominent comp to be considering there. And yeah, 3 meeple flips here quite nicely with the 2 Bastions. Able to slot in these snipers right now, and this should be a strong option that we have right now. Find a Zaya as well, so it's going to be making our full slams, committing them right there. And we are not that far off the Jax either, but why you're wanting to be playing this into 2-cost or 3-cost reroll? Because we can see right here, we leveled already to 7. We only found a single copy of the Gnar along the way. If you're playing this into 1-cost, you're just going to be over leveling and not finding. But now we dig and finally find our Gnar 3. And also pick up an early Zaya 2 on level 7, a little bit lucky on that side. But going to be keeping the items on the Gnar, something that a lot of players in this current meta might consider to be a little bit of a troll play. But hey, Robinsongz is always here to entertain us. Going up against the Master Yi player, very close fight, and the Kindred 2 is able to finish it off. They started on our weak side, so we did not have exactly that much stall on right there. Also, we can know the positioning, the way he's doing it is to maximize the sniper value he can gain. Now, we could be moving these items over to Ornn, but as you can note already from patch notes, Jax 2 is just simply stronger than Ornn 2. This should not be the case, just how it is. And then he could have scammed a Radiant, like forced a Radiant item right there as well. But the next patch, something that definitely could be considering. Now, regarding the Gnar reroll itself, is this the stronger version? Perhaps. We would still have to see how the boards work out. But now for our next god selection, I don't think gaining 6 health is going to be that much. We definitely want to be itemizing, starting looking to itemize our other carries. However, the tier would complete the 33 tank items for ourselves, which would be fundamentally the play that we wanted to go for. But I do not think we want to be aligning ourselves with Soraka. The Virus Boon is very strong. We have a 3-star, we have potential to touch the other 3 stars, and it's going to nicely synergize the extra HP with the resistances we gain from Bastions. Therefore, we're going to be picking up the Varus offering right there. Sword is good. We can definitely make something out of it. Now, I would assume that we are going to perhaps econing up until we see at least another copy of the Jax, and we did an interesting play here of slotting in that Sona. I am still to identify exactly by the color codes which the mods it is. Perhaps it's a double attack one. But let's see how we fare against this Leona 3. One of the last glimpses, hopefully, are getting of this Teemo reroll has been absolutely terrorizing us. Yeah, we just cannot get through this Leona. Absolutely stacked up. Definitely going to be taking a large hit. The 1-cost rerolls here reminiscent of set 15, something like the Malphite. This was absolutely unkillable. Therefore, the power budget has to be toned down just a little bit. I wanted to sell the Samira, but could be a pickup we just slot in for perhaps 3 sniper on the next level, or we could be playing around the Stargazer. I did not know exactly what the Stargazer is. It's interesting that he still values this Sona to be the module from the Sona so much. Perhaps we are going to be ditching her once this module expires, but for our blessing, picking up immediately, we can complete 2 items. We wanted anti-heal sorted out, yes, so we just simply picked up the first one we got. Now we have a Jhin offering in the shop, so definitely should be considering picking it up. Find our Jax 3 finally, and now we are pushing our level 8 right now. And now we could be slotting in 4 Sniper, 4 Bastion. Are we going with it? This is something that hasn't been played for quite a while in the metas. But if you recall, this is more of the flashback of the comps of how, you know, you just tossed in snipers, tossed some frontline, whatever, synergized together, and it made a board. So Robinsongz showing off some of the old guy moves of what we are able to compete against. going up against this Space Groove Nami Ribbon board, which is another board that should be quite strong into the next patch. So we get a little bit of glimpse into that, and we are able to come out victorious with a sliver of HP onto this Gnar. Still not that far from Poppy 3, which should be a decent pickup. And this, yeah, this is the Huntress. Now, what's going to change with the Huntress is going to gain hexes here, but otherwise, still, I am a little puzzled about these two positions right here, right? Now, obviously, Huntress, the part of it is that it heals these Stargazer champions whenever you kill someone. That's perhaps the ideology behind having such way that you are able to funnel two strong tanks with the potential heals in them, but then they would have to be both Stargazer tanks, and Nunu is a little bit lacking in its tankiness in its own, paying the tax for being a CC tank. Speaking of which, he's right here for ourselves. But yeah, you're definitely, you could be sometimes going to simply worth the position of some of the other two units you have in these slots, so that your other weaker tank especially does not receive that much aggro. For example, if you had a 0 item here and they had their carries on this side, it could just simply get bursted down. Going against this Brawler Emblem Z, alright, well, this is definitely going to be the patch of the game of the flashbacks. You can see he just simply receiving too much health onto the clones at times. And now we should be chasing to complete the last item for our Zaya. Unfortunately, had a GS there, but now are we going to be considering the last Whisper? Redundancy in the Shredder, just double Sterex gauge. Alright, let's go. This could be a potential transition, obviously, later onto the tank items. For now, it's simply going to be AD. Has to be sufficient, but we definitely wanted some form of attack speed. Now we have our Jax in front of this Master Yi, so let's see which of the busted units is able to hold longer. But the Boomerang coming back is able to take down the Master Yi, and we are able to come out victorious. So you can see, even before the buffs, this comp can definitely do some nasty things now. Obviously, that was partly of the Jax being able to stall long enough right there. Now we have a Rammus too as well. Should definitely be swapping at least the Rammus here to be in the front line, I would believe. Even though the item, well, before at least the Ornn buffs, I don't think the item is going to make that much of a change. But perhaps he simply values the more power from the item onto the Ornn. Against now into the Leona and Teemo, and immediately on we are onto this Leona, but we have seemed to pack up a little bit of punch. The fight went better. Are we going to be able to clean this up? The Sterex gauge is kicking in, but not enough. The fight went better. If we were able to perhaps improve our itemization onto the Zaya, we definitely could be getting through it. You can see that this Gnar is no joke to be considering, and perhaps this is the better build of simply Rageblade, Kraken, IE right there. We'll have to see how that works out when we gain a little bit more data, and now we are able to also push level 9. This is where actually Vice Spending also comes in quite neatly. If you're simply able to start pushing your rolls on level 8, manage your econ quite nicely throughout the game, as Robinsongz has done, you are able to make it to level 9 but still upgrading your board continuously throughout the stage 4 and 5. Now, unfortunately, again, missed on the anvil, and going up against this Zed, I think this is spelled just doom for ourselves, as we are just simply unable to clear. The boomerangs are not enough, but picking up a 3rd place, you can see he's not too impressed. But the key to this was, now, we identified that the lobby is going to be quite weak. We made sure to play strong early game in an encounter that rewards being able to pick up a line early and try to make streak gold. Unfortunately, our streak that did get broken, but we committed to what we had made and played into a niche uncontested line that allowed us to tempo to this top 3 and just simply losing out to some of the strongest stuff in the last meta. All is going to be changing with the next patch, and through great econ management we were able to again secure the top 4. I would like to thank you for watching. As usual, meta sheet is available in the link down below. I will also provide a link to the notes I've made down there, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.